ICT Summit in Warsaw, and Mike Reiner is here with me, and now we're going to see some advices for new Polish startups. Hi, Mike.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Could you give us some advice for Polish startups, how to become maybe more global than local, and how to start their own business? Because there are a lot of young people who know that startup is a good way of life, but they don't know anything else after that sentence. So maybe a few advices for young startuppers.
Sure. So the two advices I would give would be to better validate, so to better test whether the idea you're having or the product you're working on actually has a market. So, constantly go out to customers, constantly talk to them, ask the right questions. So validate, whether they're actually already using something similar, to do proper validation. And there's a great book written about this called The Mom Test, very small, but I advise anyone to read this just on validation. The second thing is tell stories, tell the story about what you're doing, and tell the story about like in a good way. So what I've heard is, especially about Poland, for instance, there's tons and tons of actually great companies coming out of Poland. What I've heard about Poland is the Mars rover was built by engineers, Polish engineers. Enigma was cracked, they say, by Polish. So I hear all these stories, but actually those stories, they don't get out there that much. So I think a lot of people don't know these stories. And I think Polish could be much, much better in telling those stories about the country, about history, but also about their startup.
So you're telling me that two fundaments, it's not only the product, but also the communication strategy. Maybe
exactly. Exactly, because I think Polish, the Polish have great education, so there's a lot of IT talent in Poland, especially also mathematicians, etc. What I think general, like Eastern Europe lacks, and I think Poland lacks as well, might be a little bit more of the business development and sales, and that links more to the storytelling. Translating the product to the story and telling this internationally. And this is, I think, really, really important to do as well, because that gives you that global visibility.
What do you think about our European startup ecosystem? Because everybody wants to have a second Silicon Valley, and there is nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. I think if I look at the European ecosystem right now, it's grown incredibly over the last years. 5 years ago already, most events 5 years ago were still in local language. There was much less going on. So if I see the growth over the last years alone, then I think there's massive, massive potential. And I also believe that the next big companies will come out of Europe and Asia, and less be dominated by Silicon Valley, which is an amazing ecosystem, and also an ecosystem I think we will not achieve anytime soon. And we should not try to copy Silicon Valley and try to be the next Silicon Valley. What we should try to do is do something different, build something unique. And Europe, I think, has a great potential of having all the different hubs that are strong in something specific, and do this, focus on something specific and be really great at it.
Yeah, but there is also one more thing about the difference between Silicon Valley, the United States, and European system is about risk, because failure is something absolutely normal in the United States, and here I think we have a little bit distance, and we are a little bit afraid of business failure than in the United States. Don't you think so?
I think that's changing rapidly. Also with Eric Ries and the whole lean startup movement that has been very dominant in Europe as well. I think more and more people have this notion of failure is something that is needed in order to succeed, right? So again, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm originally from Netherlands, and when I look, it's very, very conservative there as well. 10 years ago, people were very afraid to fail. And this is changing very, very fast in Europe, I think. So I don't think that's an issue. Yes, I think US is still much more risk-taking, also especially when it comes to investors, than Europe. But I think it's changing very fast, so I don't think it's an issue, actually.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.